Well, I'm going to examine the transgender issue, which has been coming on strong in the last, I'd say, last several years. Because 10 years ago, you'd probably never hear this in the mainstream news about transgender, transsexual issues. And there's a lot of different terms out there. But, I'm going to tell you what actually I think about it right away, just right off the top of my head. It's like people do whatever the hell they want, but it's an issue that I think should not be like forced on people, if they want to think whatever they want to think. I don't necessarily think like real moral religious or anything like that. I think more or less like it's individual rights. So there's no such thing as collective transgender issues or collective racial issues or collective ethnic issues or collective political issues. It's like everybody's got their own thing. Do whatever the hell you want. And basically, as long as you're not violating anybody else's rights, who the hell cares, And, if there's a medical issue with something, you might want to tell them about it. But then again, if there's a medical issue with some type of lifestyle that they have, do whatever you want. That's the way I look at it, man, as long as society doesn't have to pay for all the problems that a person might lead themselves into. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm just talking about anything in general. I'm not talking about transgender there because, if somebody wants to drink a lot, I'm not going to tell them not to drink a lot. You might tell them, hey, one time, this is what's bad for you. This is what's bad for you, maybe with smoking. Or maybe your opinion on transgender is this, but you don't have to tell people 50 times what the hell it is. So it's like, I got the attitude is like, people do what the hell they want, man. If you want to be transgender, do transgender or whatever. And actually, a lot of the transgenders that are going from male to female, it's like very difficult to tell what they're looking better than a lot of the genetic females. But I have to point out, though, that this is actually being pushed now in the major media, and this is what I want to examine. Why? Why is it being pushed in the major media? And, I start putting two together. It's almost like nothing really happens haphazardly. There's always a game plan. There's always a method behind the madness. It's almost like, you might think, well, here's a blonde transgender, right? You might think she's, it's to give an example. Sometimes there's people associate, that a blonde is not intelligent, and maybe she might act like she's not intelligent, but that doesn't mean she's not intelligent. And, that's why I look at almost like this whole media blitz of coming out with all these different transgender issues every day, being bombarded with this, that I think there's a method behind the madness. And tell you the truth, with technology, the way it's going, I think that humans are going to be created in labs, more or less, not created from the beginning, more or less, but engineered in labs, rather than the old-fashioned way. It's going to be the old-fashioned way. Than rather than given birth in the family the way it is today. And what they got to do first to get rid of that is to break down the family. Break down the family and get it in people's heads that, there's so much, I guess, melding between male and female and all this type of stuff that there's going to be a new hybrid type of humans out there, basically created for the future, a future race of humans that are created by basically an intelligent system. I talked about like nanobots will be something where they expect, and I'm talking about one of the top Google engineers, okay? He expects that nanobots, and he might be a little ahead of his time, but he says nanobots are going to be used in a human brain by the year 2030 to upload information, and then maybe by 2040, 2050, and he might be a little bit off on the years, but I bet you the trend is there, that most of the human activity of the brain is going to be artificial intelligence. But I think what's going on with this, blending between the sexes, where, there's not too much distinguishing between, I even saw in the past the unisex fashions and things like that, that's something, male and female could both wear. But now that the gender identity issue is coming up a lot more, and actually this issue is really coming up in reality, because you know what's going on. There are actual toxins in our environment, which I think are deliberate, that are causing these issues. Now, if you're worried about that and you don't want to be affected by these toxic issues, whatever that could, in your environment, that could be making you think you want to be the opposite gender, well, I could state a couple things that might, or a few things that might help, if that's your pursuit, not to be affected by this. One actually is boron. I talked about this in another video. Like, in other words, if you're male or female, now it depends. And if you want to do this, or you want to go transgender, if you don't care, I'm not telling you what to do. But one of them is boron, and I'm going to point to the link that I did in this other video. And it has a lot of different uses for it. It's very cheap. It's not a supplement I sell. You can get like a $300 day supply for about $6. It's cheap. It's just a mineral. It helps detoxify the body of fluoride, and it helps balance out the hormones in the body. So if the testosterone is too low, it raises it. If you're female, if the estrogen's too low, it helps raise it. It helps normalize the normal sex hormones of the body, and helps detoxify things that are harmful to the body. It's dirt cheap. It's boron. Now, a couple other things I've been harping on lately is vitamin C and vitamin D. Now, I'm not going to tell you, I personally take mega doses of these things, I think, because they're natural hormones. They're not really vitamins. But, vitamin C can repair tissue. Vitamin D can also repair cells. They can both boost the immune system. I personally, I've seen a lot of scientific studies that I think they will promote vastly longer life and healthier life. But basically normalize whatever you have naturally. And if you're being exposed to toxic elements, a free radical scavenger, something like vitamin C, which is one of the cheapest ones out there, bang for the buck. The toxic elements are actually causing a lot of people to, have problems with, gender identity issues. Because a lot of times, this is when they're exposed in the womb. So, like the new, you had the baby boomers probably weren't exposed to this as much in the womb, because they probably got the problem with the vaccines and the polio vaccines and all this other garbage. And then you had Generation X, they're probably more exposed to this. But then the millennials were probably more exposed to toxins than anybody in the womb. And it does affect, now I'm not saying it's a problem, but I'm thinking it's deliberately caused by the powers that be. Hey, that's a conspiracy theory. I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. But I'm definitely not gonna condemn anybody for freaking wanting to be transgender or feeling that way or whatever, because sometimes like in Bruce Jenner's or Caitlyn Jenner's case, I was a little bit wondering about that deal, because it didn't make sense with him, because he was such a testosterone-filled Olympic athlete all his life, and I don't know where that came about, and I was wondering why the issue came up with him, because with some people it's an issue from when they're very young, and it makes more sense. But I almost think maybe it's eating Wheaties, because he used to promote Wheaties kind of thing. It was actually, I put out a video a long time ago about Kellogg. You probably never heard this story. Now, this is another transgender, born male, but a lot of, looks very female, though. I mean, she went through hormone, well, This is a woman, so that's what I have to say. A transgender woman, whatever the hell it is. I can't really say one way or the other. Like, I guess your DNA is going to be male, but appearance-wise, 110% woman, right? But the thing is, I think the other issue is also not only the toxins and plastics we're exposed to, but also the toxins and plastics that mothers are exposed to, which exposes the baby in the womb to that, is causing more transgender issues. Now, that may be deliberate by the powers that be. It might be. That's a conspiracy theory to the max, but it may be. The reason I'm thinking it's that way, because um, the news media seems to be the major media seems to be jumping on this issue and pushing this issue to the forefront constantly. So I'm telling you a different angle on it. So I'm thinking, nutritionally, you might be able to protect yourself somewhat with boron, hormone vitamin C and hormone vitamin D, the natural forms of D. But it's also an issue where females want to be males. So I mean, it's a matter of. But here's something else. It was John Kellogg, the guy that actually, Kellogg's cereal with the cornflakes. He did not. He was like a real religious yo-yo. I'll just tell you that right now. He was actually trying to discourage the sexual activity of younger adolescents and anybody who was, I don't know, just discourage any kind of extra sexual activity. And what he did was he realized that cornflakes, that's what he developed cornflakes for, was to try to lower the sexual activity of people and dull their sexual appetite. That may be true because actually, that's what cornflakes was developed for, believe it or not. And but that may be very true because any processed sugar is almost like a poison to your natural system. And the way things are today, where it's not even just processed sugar, it's fruit, not just fructose and other types of processed ingredients that are in, it's not even natural processed sugar. It's even worse than that. And also sugar-free, which is sucralose and things like that, which are even worse for you than the traditional things that were from grains. But grains are one of the things that probably are affecting your hormonal balance too, your natural hormonal balance. But I really don't care, to tell you the truth, but I just want to bring out the fact that I think all this is being planned and there's an ultimate goal. I don't think in the future, it might be some generations down the road, but once when we have national health care, universal global health care, and everything's mandated, reproduction is going to be guided by the powers that be, which is the second tenet on the Georgia Guidestones, right? Guide reproduction wisely, right? So there may be a whole method to the madness on what's going on here. Now, I'm not religious really, but then again, I'm not irreligious. I actually have to tell you, like sometimes, I could look at the Bible and I could say, it's probably historically accurate. And some people get all bent out of shape at me for saying that. But doesn't necessarily mean I think of the Bible the way a real religious person thinks of it. And then at this other aspect of it is maybe the Bible's only telling you a tiny part of human history. There could have been history way before that, too. But like I said, I pretty much go with the basic tenet, like with the Bill of Rights is in our Constitution, more or less. If you really want to summarize the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments of the Constitution of the United States, basically it's just like, don't violate other people's rights. You should be secure in your own, whatever pursuit of whatever you want to do. And as long as it's not harming other people, go for it. You know what I mean? If you really want to say that's exactly what it is, that's all it is. It's not a moral thing. The Bill of Rights is not a Christian thing. It's not any kind of religion. It's not anything. It's definitely not Sharia law. But, it's like, and that's kind of like the way I think. I don't really give a damn what people do. But I realize that since the major media has been pushing this issue so much, there's a method to the madness. That won't be revealed till later on. But how many times I used to say stuff years and years and years ago And people, nah, that'll never happen. Ooh, yeah, right, man. It sure will happen. You kidding me? I'm very forward thinking. Very forward thinking. And I'm not liberal or conservative, man. Because I think a lot of it's like, do what the hell you want. I think a lot of people misinterpreted another video I put out a while back. I was putting out about, women that have unprotected sex will have carry the DNA of their male partners for life. And I says, I don't know that for a fact, but it looks like the facts. It looks like that's the case. And I says, well, you should just keep that in mind because, if you have a lot of sex with unprotected partners, not only this could be a problem with STDs or something. There might be other problems where your autoimmune system is fighting off foreign DNA or something, and it's affecting your mind or somehow. And they even showed this where people had blood transfusions and they take on the attributes of the other person they got the blood transfusion from, because it's a foreign matter that's put in your body. So, it's not like be chased all the time and all this kind of stuff, but it's a matter of exercising reasonable caution. And I'm not going to knock this transgender issue at all. And it's not that I'm like liberal, but the thing is I don't like about it is this: I think it's being pushed, and there's a nefarious plan behind the whole deal. That's what I don't like about it. It's not like I don't like nothing about the transgender or the gay community or lesbian community or anything like that. It's that I think why the major media, and probably most of the major media is not even aware of this, but there's a method to the madness. In other words, why is this all being pushed? Because I think it's going along with one of the ultimate goals of the second tenet of the Georgia Guidestones is to guide reproduction wisely. And, now you're seeing national health care. We're going to have international, global health care. And once the family unit is all broken down and everybody's pretty much, working for the government more or less, which is one of the trends, they could pretty much control what genes get mated together to produce new offspring and, exactly how they're raised. It could be like people being biologically raised specifically for different functions in society. At least that's what I think. That's what I think the method behind the madness is. Not that I think that's actually going to come about, because I can tell you one thing. A lot of times the elitists on the top themselves. That's why I think a lot of this stuff is being pushed. It's elitist policy. I'm not going to criticize anybody that's transgender, gay, lesbian, or whatever the hell they are. I don't give a damn. I'm not. I'm not going to play like, religious and conservative. But I realize there's something behind this. And I think it's all of us need to fight what's behind this. I mean, I'm talking about, straight, hetero, transgender, gay, lesbian individuals need to fight the power that's behind this, because I think the push for having this out in society more and more, and also I think it's being not just pushed in the media, but also biologically by introducing chemical elements in our plastics and things that are foods that that contain that are in the foods. They have plastic containers. There's a lot of different things that are out there that actually affect your genealogy. And also even the genetically modified foods that are being produced by Monsanto is actually causing gender identity issues. But then again, I'm not gonna say somebody should not have a gender identity issue or whatever they want to do, because maybe this is being, maybe I'm not sure what happened with Bruce Jenner, or Caitlyn Jenner. I'm not sure, but. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of theories out on that, but I think that possibly, he might have been exposed to something that, I don't think he thought like that way all his life. He might have thinks that he thought that way all his life today, but I don't think he did think that way all his life. So, but the point is not to try to transform somebody back or tell somebody that if they're gay or lesbian, they can't be gay or lesbian, they got to be straight or whatever. It's not that. That's not the point. The point is to just recognize that there might be an underlying intelligence that's actually governing everything this way for an ultimate purpose. And that ultimate purpose is to control us. That's what I don't like about this shit. So I think that all straights, heterosexuals, homosexuals, lesbians, transgender, transsexual, people with gender identity issues, or whatever, whatever kind of different things are, concepts are out there and categories, ought to just unite and just be aware that they're screwing with us, man. That's what I think. The boogeyman on the top is screwing with us, man. They're screwing with our head. And I don't think it's an imagination. Because my intuition and suspicions is usually pretty much acutely attuned to a lot of different things. And, major media don't waste airwaves on issues that there isn't an ultimate purpose to. So, looking at, but if you're worried about, being influenced by the plastics, the fluorides, what's in the foods, it could be it could be hormone D and hormone C. Actually, they're known as vitamins, but they're really hormones. It might help to, keep your gender identity intact to what you feel like it should be, or whatever you think it is. But if you're not thinking that way, fine. And boron, which should also help detoxify the fluoride, and keep your natural sexual hormones at levels that are normal. So it's difficult to say though exactly what's going on, but I'm very highly suspicious there's an ultimate game plan that's leading up to the second tenet on the Georgia Guidestones: guide reproduction wisely. Because once you have it where, actually, like, in other words, a transgender woman, no matter how much she looks like a woman, even if she looks exactly like a woman, if she's genetically a male, she's not going to be able to give birth, right? At least not in today's technology. And so, therefore, it leaves open. And actually, there's actually, I think it was a French, what the heck was it? It's a website where even it's like the gay and lesbian couples, if they want to have children, they can create the children. It's with gene donors. But it doesn't take too much to go from that corporate enterprise step to make it into a government step with government approval. And that totally fits in with that second tenet of the Georgia Guidestone. Guide reproduction wisely with fitness and diversity. It's almost like a Nazi plan, What the hell can I tell you, man? That's what the hell we got going here, man. That's what we got going. So I want to give you a different twist on this transgender issue and stuff. And, it's like, it's not like, you shouldn't, like, say, push for transgender rights or transsexual rights or gay rights or lesbian rights or heterosexual rights. You should always push for individual rights. Because when they group people, what the bastards on the top do is they use the groups against each other, which creates tension and conflict, which helps them introduce more freaking bullshit rules where they control us. And the thing is, we don't need these damn rules. We just got to exercise common sense. That's all there is to it. So anyway, that's enough on that. And I just figured I'd present something a little bit different because, I'm smelling something up with this bullshit because there's like, I've been ahead of the game for many years, way ahead of the game. And, I tell people stuff, I remember 10, 20 years ago, that can't be, no. And it turned out I was right. So I think I know what their game is with this deal too. And the hell with the control freaks. Screw them all. That's all I got to say. The hell with the control freaks. Just leave you with that.